Is there anybody from Northern Stage? They don't have to be here, but
We weren't expecting anyone.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll take a motion for this renewal.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I
Mike?
move that the select board approve the renewal for Northern Stage 76 Gate Street, Waiver Junction, Vermont 05001 for an outside consumption license.
Is there a second? Okay.
Second that.
Eric seconds the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, it is unanimous. It is 6-0. All right. So we will close as the local liquor control board. And since we don't have a local cannabis control board, we will reopen as the select board and move to order of agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
I've got a few things just because of our postponement of the last meeting.
Okay.
So first of all, I should point out that two of the items that were originally on this agenda have been removed because those folks are unavailable tonight. Those are the Hartford Community Coalition and Resilient Hartford. I do want to also point out that there has been a request from DPW to add an item due to its time sensitivity, and that is to do with the Nut Lane water project. And I have attached brief packet information to the existing packet online, and I have copies of the 2 or 3 page packet presentation from DPW if you'd like to add that to tonight's agenda.
I think that would be fine since it's a emergency
Yes,
situation. And where would you add it?
I would put it right under what I've got here as H, because that'll be right after the Wilder Pump Station discussion,
Okay,
which will be the last DPW item. So this will just be a one final DPW item.
all right, great.
And one other question, John.
Yeah.
Right, Matt? Just are we removing a couple items toward the end that were?
Yes, those were setting tax rates and adopting the flyer or
Right.
approving the flyer to be mailed out with tax bills. And both of those were approved Thursday in our emergency meeting
Okay, so that's L and N.
from the original
the
agenda,
original,
yes.
Is there an updated agenda that
Mhm.
doesn't have those?
There
Oh,
is,
this
And online.
and online? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so then we will move to public comment. So remember, if there's anybody who has.
Point of order. Do we need to vote on those amendments to the agenda?
ideally, yes.
Okay, didn't
Um,
remember, sorry.
no problem. Can I, just for the sake of clarification,
So
the Nut Lane
remember-
project, I understand the urgency of it. That's not on the, is that information available online to the?
It
public?
is. This morning, it was put online as at the very end of the agenda packet. As soon as we heard that it was going to be asked to be added to the agenda. So I don't know if it was this morning or even last week, but I know that Lana was asked and she did add that material to tonight's packet.
Okay, the cover page with the agenda items wasn't changed, but it was just that information was appended somewhere.
That's right, at the
Okay.
end of the packet.
All right.
So if
It's a
anybody's
little
out there
confusing
looking
to me
for it.
because I didn't see it as an agenda item.
Right,
So, but the public has access to that, but they just wouldn't know where to go to look for it.
that's right. They know now to look at the very
Page
end of the
with the
packet.
agenda items. Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'll entertain a motion to make the amended agenda as stated. Is there anybody who'd like to make that motion?
Madam Chair,
With the changes?
I'll move to amend the agenda as requested.
Okay, and is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mike. All right, so Eric moves it and Mike seconds it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so that is 6-0.
Thank you for that.
Yes. So then we move to public comment. Those of you who have come here for public comment, remember you have up to 3 minutes to talk, and remember to no personal comments, and to come forward, give us your name, your residence?
So we do a quick one, Mary. Keep seeing them.
I'm sorry, point of order?
Point of order, I'm sorry, Mary, before you go ahead, Peter, I just wanna reiterate what Mary said at the beginning, that I'll be helping with some timekeeping. So, I apologize in advance if I offend anyone, but I will, try my best to be as polite as possible and interrupt you at 3 minutes and then let you know that you have about 15 seconds to wrap up your comments.
Substantially less than that.
Okay,
'Cause I
excellent.
wanted to at least say on the public record what I said to Mary Allen before the meeting happened. That went as far as,
Your
Peter,
name
you-
and
you-
place of residence.
yeah, Pete Sandra on White River Junction.
Yes.
And as I was saying, you want to get on record what I said to Mary, the chair here before the meeting. Because at least in Vermont, we've been tending to do a better job, town-wide, statewide, a better job of responding to threats to the community. While other places, including across the river, been doing a half-assed job, as I've had to make clear in court over in New Hampshire today. Mainly in regard to some desperation tactics that Dartmouth has been doing to me and as well as others in the community as part of the fallout from the protests that have been ongoing, which I know many here in the select board are familiar with. And if anyone needs, I'd be more than happy to elaborate after the meeting on this topic, just so we can keep it, as I said, 1 minute to the dot.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Peter.
you.
Okay. You know the drill, Tim.
Good evening, Tim Ferry, White River Junction. And I'll start off with saying I do indeed appreciate all your work. I watched your retreat, which looks like it was very productive. Thank you for giving up that time as well. I just wanted a couple points of order. As it relates to public comments, when there is something specific on the agenda that I would like to provide input on, should I wait until that item is brought up? Is that a better strategy?
Yes, that's my understanding, that what we've tried to do over the years that I've been here is that public comment is not for agenda items.
Okay.
Agenda items are.
That seems reasonable.
Yes.
I did want to bring up, however, as you know, you had a meeting related to the tax rate, setting the tax rate. And I'm not suggesting anything nefarious happened, but in terms of the notification and being aware of that meeting, I realize there's time sensitive urgency to that, but to the extent in the future, we cannot rush that process and have the opportunity for the public to speak. I had something specific pertaining to that, perhaps it's more appropriate to do it right now. I had requested the findings of the numerous appeals after our new assessments were completed. I feel this is important because the results of those adjustments may suggest that the valuations at large might benefit from a slight adjustment to more accurately reflect the market. So as an example, if the appeals average a 5% downward adjustment, it seems reasonable to consider applying that to all the properties, at least within a certain cohort. So obviously you've already set the tax rate, you've already sent the bills out. Mine have increased pretty dramatically, not to be selfish, but I just would have appreciated a little more information and time to discuss the taxes and the tax rate and valuations. I know it's a lot of work. The only other concern that I immediately have is that we prevent this in the future. We fell to the lowest CLA rate in the state at 66%, which had a dramatic negative impact on school funding. Millions of dollars that went to Montpelier and never came back to Hartford. So I would ask that we really consider a new template, that we avoid that. I think historically we used to try and do about a quarter of the properties every year to keep our assessments up. I think we need to spend the money and invest in that commitment so that we don't run into this situation ever again. But again, I appreciate all the work to do the assessments, but it would be important for me to see what were the results and the outcomes of those appeals. There were over 600 appeals, if I'm not mistaken, around taxes. So if those were all downward trends, then it would suggest to me that we should really consider the grand list at large. So, thank you.
Thank you. I will say that, there was a lot to consider in this last meeting, and I think it was really difficult. I came to the town to sign some paperwork and noted that our finance director was calling every single day to the Department of Taxes. But and with the approximately 65 to 70% of the towns in Vermont having to do a revaluation, the state was, pretty much full of work that had to be done. And when John tentatively put it on the schedule, we didn't even know, we ourselves didn't know until 3 o'clock in the afternoon if we were going to be able to have a meeting. And that's when it was confirmed. So apologize for, the changes. We were caught as much off guard, by the state's response as we could. And I also don't know if I read this incorrectly, John, but when I was going onto the state's Department of Taxes, I read that they're no longer going to use the CLA.
Oh, I'm not aware of that. We will be hearing from Rick in 2 weeks' time,
Okay,
or in 8 days' time, I should say.
okay, great. So I don't know if that'll make a difference or not, but I did read that it was passed and it's supposed to go into effect like 2026. So we'll see. Thank you very much. Okay, any other public comment?
We have a Zoom comment.
All right, thanks, Mike.
Mike Morris, you can unmute, come over.
Are you there, Mike?
Chico, you bring him over?
I don't think I had that.
I can promote him to panelist.
Be allowed to talk about.
Yeah, there you go. All right, Mike, you're on.
Can you hear us?
Is that working now?
Yes.
I thought it was my bad again, because I'm not good at this. But thank you, Mike Morris, Hartford, Vermont. I have a couple of things and I'll try to be quick. I'll start off with the last meeting you had, I think it was a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. We were talking about the parking meters and everything else, and I started to explain myself on the round of parking meters, and I got interrupted. I thought when you recognize somebody on Zoom or in the room or whatever, they have the floor, and I got interrupted. I even spoke up saying I got interrupted. I wasn't finished, and nobody stopped it. And I found that very disturbing and not welcoming. And I think if you go back and watch the video at 2 hours and 5 minutes, you'll agree with me. And it was one of our senior managers. So I hope we cannot let that happen again. I've seen it happen in other places. Now it happened to me. So I'm personally upset about it. The other thing I want to talk about is that right after that, you made a motion. And I think the order of making a motion is somebody makes a motion, somebody seconds it, and then the next step is discussion, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
Okay, well, you just did a motion without a discussion. You did the same thing right after I spoke at the last meeting about adding the grace period to the meters. You left out discussion. We're missing simple basics, and Tim is very polite about how he says things, but the select board is not going to operate smoothly or properly in many ways. And Tim, I support everything you said last week and today. I think we need to slow down a little bit here on things. And for the younger people, not younger, the newer people on the board, you have a vote. Your vote is 1/7 of the board, the entire board. If you recuse yourself, if you do not vote, or if you vote, you should not be voting for your personal want. You should be voting for the people who voted for you, what they want. That's what you ran for. And I want you to all remember, you all have the same power in voting. The only thing you don't have is the control of the meeting. So don't be afraid to speak up and put your vote in and your 2 cents in as to what you're supposed to be doing for the people who voted for you. I'm sorry to be so abrupt, but this is disturbing what happened the last meeting. I mean, I got interrupted. I even spoke up, and I think it was Ashley that asked me if I was finished. I said no, because I was interrupted. I was finished. So that's because I was upset, and I apologize for reacting that way. Thank you. And
Thank you, and apologize to you, Mike. I don't remember this, but I'll be more careful. All right, is there another public comment, either online or?
Nope.
Okay, so we will close public comment and move to the appointments. And we have 2 new appointments today. One is James Donahue, is that
Oh,
correct?
you didn't handle the select board comments.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I'm having some antibiotic issues that's disturbing my brain. So, sorry about that. So we have select board comments and announcements. I'll start with Eric.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nothing tonight.
Thank you. Ida?
No comments for me, thank you.
All right, Mike?
This was a while back, but I made it down to Kilowatt for the 4th of July fireworks, and they were fantastic. So kudos to Parks and Rec for that.
Thank you. Brandon?
None from me, thank you.
Ashley?
Nothing for me.
And nothing for me. Okay, so we'll close select board comments and announcements and move on to the appointments. As I said, James Donahue is here, wanting to be appointed to the Conservation Commission for a 4-year term. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself, James, and your reasons for wanting to be on this this board?
Yes, I can, Mary. So thanks for having me. Again, my name is James Donahue. I live with Waiver, Junction. I'm a forester here in Vermont. I've been a forester for about 19 years. Ever since moving to the community, became interested in the work of the Conservation Commission and their stewardship of the Hartford Town Forest and the other natural places that they help steward for the town. I recently became aware that they had a vacancy on their commission, and a couple of members actually reached out to me about potentially being on the commission, and I feel like it, my subject matter knowledge with forestry and with the environment in general would be a good fit for the commission, and be a nice way for me to give back to the town that I appreciate and the open spaces that I enjoy.
I'm assuming people have read the packet, so if you have some questions for James.
Yes, thank you.
Good.
I'm curious about your thoughts about the town forest in general. I mean, being a forester, like, I just kind of want to hear you talk for a minute on it.
Oh man, it's such a treasure. It's one of the reasons why we moved to where we live. I actually live on Kings Highway, so we're adjacent to the town forest. Yeah, it's just a beautiful treasure. The trail system and the way that the forests have been managed in the past are just a really great thing for the town to have. I have some, I guess I have some concerns with the future of the forest, just like I have concerns with the future of most forests here in Vermont. Like, we're just in a state of kind of rapid change, not only with the climate, but with introduced kind of invasive insects and diseases. And so I just, like to see it being stewarded in the future, just like the management plan kind of plays out for it. But yeah, it's a great treasure. There's tons of amazing wildlife in there. It's fun to see everyone out recreating in the middle of the day or in the afternoon. Yeah, it's just a great thing to have in the town.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, so I'll entertain a motion for the appointment of James Donahue.
Madam Chair.
Yes,
I
Mike?
move that the select board appoint James Donahue to the Conservation Commission for a 4-year term beginning July 8th, 2025 and ending July 7th, 2021.
Is there a second?
Just a friendly amendment, just for the dates.
Oh.
It's probably
Oh, yeah, so it'll be
July
July
14th.
14th and July 7th,
No, it'd still be 13th, actually,
13th.
2 years, yeah.
All right, so friendly amendment, term beginning July 13th, ending July 7th.
No, I'm
No,
sorry.
the other way.
It would be starting July 14th, which is tonight, and ending in 2 years on July
All
13th.
right, I'm just gonna start it over. Madam Chair, I move the select board appoint James Donahue to the Conservation Commission for a 4-year term beginning July 14th, 2025 and ending July 13th, 2029.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ida. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you, James.
Thank you
Thanks,
very much.
Yes,
for your
thank you.
service.
And the next appointment is to consider the appointment of Rob Hebert II. Rob, you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself and where you live?
Sure. I'm Rob Hebert, lifelong resident, born and raised, graduate of Hartford High School. I live here at 34 Prospect Street, across the street, and I've been reaching out for people to get involved with government and local government, and I think it's time for me to do the same. So that's why I'm here.
Anybody would like to ask some questions? Eric?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Come closer to the mic.
Sure.
People online may not be able to hear you if you're not too close to that one. Doesn't pick up sound very well. I'm just curious if you're familiar with some of the initiatives that the committee has in progress and your thoughts maybe on some of them.
I hope to become more aware. That's my whole reason for being here, is to become educated with it. I've seen that the position's been open for a while, and I've asked other people to get involved that might be more knowledgeable about this, and they've reluctant to. So that's why I'm stepping in. So I'll be educating myself as I go. So I actually can't speak to them now, but I hope to be able to soon.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And we also, okay, Ashley, and I was just looking, we also have the same date problem on that one. So when there's a person ready for a motion. Ashley?
Hi, Rob. I was wondering if you might be interested in speaking to, I know I've talked with you before about some of the housing and unhoused issues that we have in town. Maybe you could speak a little bit to your experience. Like, is there experience in your personal life living in Hartford that would bring a perspective of value to this board that we might not get very many folks coming in?
I think I can bring some perspective. I became homeless roughly 7 years ago, and as a resident here, I was able to call on friends to live in their basements. Maybe I lived in my car a little bit, but local folks, and for illness, I'm presently collecting Social Security for a disability. One of the things is severe migraine headaches, and I probably would say half the days I suffer from those migraines. I take medication for them, so I can usually get through meetings and things like that. So if it comes to having to power through, I can do that. But just the resources that I found, I relied on my family heavily, and they just weren't there. So I had to rely on the Haven, and for housing, I lived at the Shady Lawn Motel for a year. I did live at the Haven for a brief time. I think I can bring some insight into what people go through to achieve those services, and maybe even explain. I mean, I was someone that thought that someone could just go to the Haven if they needed to, if they were full. I mean, and as a resident here, I was someone who volunteered when I worked at Hypotherm to work at the Haven, and just didn't realize how limited the services were here for residents. There's a big need for it, and I just wonder how I might be able to be more educated to share my story, and also to promote the services that are provided here in this town.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's so great. Thank you for sharing that with us. And I think that's a super valuable perspective. And I'm really happy that you're willing to set aside some time to put some thought into solutions. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Rob? Again, thank you. So I'll entertain a motion with the changes in the dates again.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Brandon?
I move that we appoint Rob Hebert II to the Housing and Homelessness Committee for a 2-year term beginning July 14th, 2025 and ending July 13th, 2027.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you, Ashley. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So that passes 6-0 as well. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we have the town manager's report now.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As we all know, the select board meeting was originally planned to take place on Tuesday, July 8th, and was postponed due to my difficulties returning from a trip away. And in any event, I apologize for any inconvenience my circumstances may have caused. On Thursday, July 10th, as has been mentioned, the Select Board held an emergency meeting to set tax rates. The short notice was required because the state was late in providing needed tax education information. I'm sorry, education tax information. The town, as many may know, must print and mail 6,500 tax bills in time for taxpayers to have 30 days before the first August 15th payment is due. Town tax bills were printed Friday and mailed out this afternoon. On another topic, clerical worker negotiations on the terms of a contract continued with a session on June 26th and another on July 10th. There will be another session on July 31st. I'd like to thank everybody involved, especially the Hartford Community Coalition, for making the June 25th block party such a smashing success. It was inspiring to meet so many people dedicating their efforts to helping others. I'd like to also thank the organizers of the Hartford High Alumni Parade, Saturday, June 28th. As requested by the Select Board, I have done research on the feasibility of establishing an in-house recycling collection program. However, given that any implementation of such a program would have to be funded in the 27 budget process, fiscal year 27, I recommend that the board consider this proposal within the context of that budget cycle. That way, the current transition away from the town-funded contracted curbside recycling program can be evaluated, and the in-house proposal's importance can be measured against other worthy proposals for the investment of taxpayer dollars. On July 1st of this year, the town's voter-approved local option sales tax took effect. If there are any retailers in Hartford, that includes all 5 villages, of course, who have not heard from the state about the requirements to collect and report this tax revenue, please contact the Vermont Department of Taxes right away. I would like to thank the Vermont legislature and particularly our hardworking delegation for increasing the town's share of local option taxes across the board to include rooms, meals, alcohol, and retail sales from the old percentage of 70% to the new percentage of 75%. That's a step forward for all of the municipalities who rely on that tax revenue. I'm pleased to point out that there are only 18 properties whose owners have failed to make any large delinquent tax payment or set up an acceptable payment plan to do so. A tax sale regarding these parcels has been scheduled for August 14th at 10 a.m. here at Town Hall. We are hopeful that some of these matters can be resolved before then and removed from the tax sale list. At an upcoming meeting, I will ask the Select Board for approval to bid the town's debt on certain parcels. A few other items of SIGAX I'd like to highlight. The Communications and Media Specialist, J.D. Hawks, has officially begun work as a full-timer. That was as of July 1st. He's been working on creating a first draft of a more encompassing town social media policy and communications policy. So stay tuned for that. Dana, our environmental sustainability coordinator, reports, I think with some pride, that the heat pumps serving the second and third floor are operational again. For the most part, the system is running well and staff and visitors have been comfortable. The Department of Public Works notes that they are continuing work on the transfer station regarding the anticipated increase in customers expected beginning on July 1st and responding to inquiries from the public regarding the curbside recycling program's discontinuance. The new transfer station hours started last week, and as of Wednesday, July 2nd, they had experienced about a 10% increase in customers. The more recent update I have is that the number of transfer station permits purchased between July 1st and the 13th Last year were 323, and in this year, in the same period, 541 had been sold. Parks and Rec reports that the department again raised funds for Brian Hansen's Scholarship Fund at the Quechee Balloon Festival. Some $10,448 was raised through parking cars at the 3-day event. And they'd like to thank all those who participated in their voluntary parking effort. 32 volunteers assisted. The Brian Hansen Scholarship Fund assists children and families with program enrollments, pool passes, and other activities. A note that the concert series has started with the first concert held at the Quechee Bandstand with Gary Bremo and the East Bay Jazz Band and the Flames in successive evenings. Concerts take place Wednesdays through August 13th. The first 4 are in Quechee and the last 4 are taking place here at Lyman Point Park. Fire Department points out that station number 2 is coming closer to completion. The driveway front apron area was blacktopped recently, and they're looking forward to making an announcement of a grand reopening event. So stay tuned for that. They also point out that they have a new firefighter, Richard Kahn, who started on July 7th. I swore him in last week. Richard comes to us from the Hanover Fire Department and will come already licensed to the AEMT level. I commend to everybody's reading the detailed HPD SIGEX recounting the very good work done by our friends at the Hartford Police Department with regard to drug busts and the arrest of dangerous people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Okay, so we will open the public hearing to review and consider traffic and parking ordinance updates, including metered parking.
So we're waiting for the presentation to load or?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's Zoom we're working on.
Okay.
In the spirit of our timekeeping, we've allotted 20 minutes for this agenda item, and I think in general, we're hoping that the presentation portion can be about half that time, so we can have the other half for discussion. So just to give a heads up, in the future, we may have like a visual timer. We're not quite there yet, but just to keep 10 minutes in mind as for the presentation portion, that would be wonderful.
It's not allowing us to
Telling me
go
it's
in.
an invalid meeting ID. Do you have the meeting ID? There we go. Thank you.
Thanks, Chico.
Get audio. And let me just share here. Just sent a request to share.
Yep.
My screen. All right, so start with the proposed ordinance. There we go. So on here, just for ease of use, you'll see red and purple. Red denotes additions of new material, and purple is where I noted the incorporation of previously passed amendments. So we have top here, just the new titles, changed prohibitions to provisions. Just thought that was a good grammatical change. Reordered the articles. So here are our definitions. Pretty straightforward unless anyone has any questions about how we defined things. This was important because we needed to explain some of what we'll be enforcing. And so obviously we need to define it in the top of the document. We reordered 224, went to 225. Some more reordering. 228 is where we incorporated multiple sections from 228 and 220, 13, 14, 15, and 16, so that all the parking prohibitions were in one section. The red is added, but all of the red you see came from those other sections. So it's not new language, it's the same language from those other sections, just reorganized. Purple comes from a past amendment that shows up at the bottom of the current ordinance. Again, in 229, incorporated all of the zones and other areas where there's timed parking into one section for ease of use. Added the parking kiosk, paid parking section. 22010 was mostly an amendment. The only additions were making the town parking lots and town park and ride sections uniform in that you can't operate a commercial business out of town parking lots as well as park and rides, and limiting parking to only motor vehicles that's defined in Title 23. The handicap section was rewritten. Turns out the spots in front of the Clodney building were not legal. And the only way to make them legal would have been to move the buildings back 5 feet on either side. So
The intent here is to identify other areas as provided in the language here. The chief of police or director of public works or their designee shall have the discretion to designate parking spots as handicapped as they see fit and in compliance with the law. And so the intent would be to essentially relocate those 2 spots to the most convenient place closest to where those spots currently exist, and make 2 new spots into handicap spots. You'll see a bunch of cross out stuff as we go through. That's stuff that got moved, and then we added in, you have to put coins in if you use coins, setting the parking rate, spots reserved for electrical vehicles. That was already an amendment, but we rewrote it to be more succinct, and given the definitions, we didn't need to define things in that section. One way, that section already existed in the one way to 2016, just turned it into its own section. Numbered the stop signs. That's something that in consultation with the traffic safety resource prosecutor for the state, I asked him, do we need to identify locations? And he said, absolutely. Those need to be clearly defined or they're not as easily enforceable. So they were numbered. I added at the end, I don't know if I made it red, but I added the new road, Green Heights Drive has been added, junction with Sykes Mountain Avenue. That actually replaced, didn't replace Hickory Ridge, because Hickory Ridge still exists. So we want that stop sign to exist. It will become obsolete eventually, but for now it exists. 229 were the parking fines. And then 22030, you'll see many additions and some purple in there. A lot of our speed limits, I'm sorry, so many stop signs. A lot of our speed limits didn't exist in ordinance and therefore would not have been enforceable or would have been more difficult to enforce. I sort of standardized the language, but I drove around and located all of the speed limit signs and measured roughly where they were in relation to intersections and things like that, so that all of our current speed limits as they exist are marked here except 25s, which are in the top section. All roads will be 25 unless otherwise stated. And that's all of the changes I made. And additions.
Thank you. That was pretty impressive.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I'll open the presentation with any questions or comments from the board.
Well, just X out your presentation.
Sorry. Yep.
Eric?
Just if you could clarify for me, when we do public hearings, do we give the public the opportunity to do questions first, or the board, or what is it? Is it a different order, or is it the same as any normal agenda item? Maybe we should hear from the expert.
Yes.
Typically, public hearing means just what you were saying, Eric.
Thank you.
The first round of opportunity is for the public to make comments. And then the board can have additional questions after that, but then you would need, did we officially open the public hearing?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so then when you feel like you've concluded your public opportunities for public comment, then you would close the public hearing.
Right.
And then you would go forth with further discussion and questions that you may have. But there may be questions that you have after you've heard the public, and you may want to add more questions that may be part of additional opportunities for public comment. So
thank you for that. Okay, so if there are, I don't know if we know if there's anybody on. Tim, go ahead.
Tim Ferrier, Waiver, Junction, Vermont. I'll try and read through this. I also have all these notes to provide each of you at the end. I appreciate all the work that's gone into this. It's very clear. I read the entire parking ordinance. I continue to believe this parking plan was developed with minimal input from those most impacted when it is implemented. This would have included large property owners, businesses, and residents who occupy and use the downtown routinely. Has all the select board seen the preliminary assumptions pertaining to the revenue and expense associated with the new regulated parking and enforcement? Can the public see this data? I finally have some detailed points around a couple of the provisions. I can read through those. I don't know if that's necessary, but for example, 220-9, it seems like the fines and the parking rate should be established with the same procedure, because right now what you have is I'm not exactly clear how fines would get changed, but the parking rates, I believe, are set through the select board. It seems like it would be consistent and appropriate to put both fines and parking rates through your purview. And just make it an easier procedure. 220-12 only defines 2 locations. I believe this pertains to the locations in front of the post office. As you know, over time, that post office has become less and less functional. It no longer has staff members and so on. So I'm asking, does the post office use suggest 2 designated 15-minute spaces? It seems obsolete, or we should offer it elsewhere that has a higher demand in the downtown area. Under 220-20, I feel like we are being too lenient. We have 4 unpaid tickets before someone actually can get towed or immobilized. I suggest 2. I was a mean parent when I was a parent. 15-day notice before immobilized. I don't know if this is a required state provision, but that seems like a long time. I'm really struck by why we would even need to notify someone to be immobilized if they're clear they're in a spot that perhaps is a hazard to the public sector. But it would be interesting to perhaps either eliminate that notice period or shorten it. I also think the fines seem low, $35 to get a vehicle back. I mean, in this day and age, it seems like 50 or 75 would be appropriate. So then I just have a couple other points to make around parking in general. Winter maintenance suggests no street parking between 12 a.m. and 7 a.m. December through April. And one of the things I've noticed downtown is how are the large public lots to be maintained properly without some procedure to get cars out of the way for thorough cleaning? I have had numerous staff over the years fall and get hurt during icing conditions in the lot and the pathways to the building. I have checked this again last winter. I probably went out there 4 or 5 times, and it was literally like a skating rink. And I just feel like if we're committing to getting people off street parking into public lots, so we have to maintain these lots. And they have not been maintained. Finally, one of my huge problems that we face downtown is handicap spaces. We have had several non-compliant designated handicap spaces, which makes 0 sense to me logically or morally. I have witnessed numerous times people trying to use these spaces and struggling to get safely and easily to the sidewalk. Not only are there limited curb drops to help this, but the pathways are rarely maintained during winter months, making the situation worse. Spaces should be functional, well-marked, and properly maintained always. Finally, around the triangle lot, which I think we're now calling Town Square, that's been in rough condition for many years. Why are we applying regulated parking before we repair and improve this space properly with comprehensive public input on the design? Abutters made concessions in 2012, being told these improvements were happening. Here we are 13 years later with no sense of progress to this critical focal point of our downtown streetscape. So again, I'm very concerned around this parking. I'm not against regulated parking downtown White River. I just think both the process and some of the details really need to be worked out and clarified. So thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Soon. Oh, it's back up. So we got Mike Morris. All right, Mike, you should be able to talk.
Hello, Mike Morris, Hartford. Thank you again. This ordinance, this writing does not mention anything about the 15-minute grace period. Is this where it's supposed to go, or am I supposed to wait for another time to speak about that? For parking meters, 15-minute grace period.
Get more. Yeah, I can respond to that. So I was in contact with IPS. There's one of the things they're trying to figure out is a way in which we can do that. The way the system is set up currently, in order for you to be able to log into the system, you need to be able to go to a kiosk or go online, and you need to put in your license plate, because that's the mechanism in which we can monitor who's in what, you know, who is actually authorized to be in a space. And that authorization usually comes with a payment. There might be a way that they can actually allow it for the first 15 minutes, but it's not a straight line to there. The problem is that once you completed that 15-minute period, somebody could go back out there and just do another 15 minutes and another 15 minutes and another 15 minutes. So right now they don't have a solution for us. It's not to say that if through a software, which is what they're looking at right now, if there's some kind of a software option that can be either done through the handheld systems of which the police officers would have, or it may be some upgrade they may do in a future update to the software behind that, because it is something that they ran into another client or another municipality that had the same question. Right now, I would say we don't have an option to do that. That would allow us to be able to have a management system to make sure that someone doesn't overstay and just keeps going back and doing that. That's not to say that they won't come up with something. So it may be one of those things where we just keep it on as an option and look to see what we can do sometime in the near future.
If I may.
I had a different answer for you, but that's.
If I may still speak, please. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Okay, I understood years ago that these meters could be programmed by us. That's what I understood 4 or 5 years ago when we were talking about this. They can be programmed. We set it up. We set up the fees. We don't have to hire a software programmer or whatever. We set it up, just like you set up your computer on how you want to operate it. And this is completely different than what I've experienced and understand, and even studying online about smart meters. They recognize when a car shows up, they send a signal to a local facility, whatever. The police will be aware that there's a car parked there, and when the meter goes off, it'll alarm it. I just did we buy the wrong meters? Did we buy them for the wrong company? Are we paying fees for them to reprogram all the time? I thought it was something. It's like buying a computer. We operate them afterwards. Did I miss something here? Sorry, this doesn't make sense to me that we can't do this on our own. We bought the meters. Thank you.
Anybody have any response to that, Lori?
If this is the time for that, I can do that, or we can do it at another point. It's really, I can say that the software comes with the machinery. The individual capacity to identify a car is usually happens when you have single spaced meters as opposed to a kiosk. There are softwares that might be able to do that in a single space. That is not the one that we went forward with. The upgrades that we would be doing are not, it's like a computer has a software, base software within it. And so we're kind of dealing with the same kind of a system here where there's a base software and they are looking at to see whether or not there is a solution. And I don't think we would be paying for an upgrade, but I could certainly clarify that.
I wanted to comment that I think the system will work out great. You know, the concept of individual meters at every spot versus I don't go to Hanover as often as I used to, but I did the other day, and it was actually pretty seamless to go into town, get on the app, put in your license plate, boom, done. And it was a pretty simple process and pretty inexpensive, actually. So I'm confident that whatever we put in place will work. So I think we should follow that protocol. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Any other questions? Is there any question coming from the public here? Otherwise, we'll close the public hearing.
We have select board discussion.
Yeah, I thought Lori said close the public hearing first and then the select board.
Okay, okay.
So,
You can, if there are other things you want to engage and get input from the public, that you'd want to know about that before you close.
Okay, I mean, I do have one question that I think select board members might have thoughts on, but perhaps the public does as well, which was revisiting the question of Saturday. So I'm curious if other select board members or members of the public have any further information or input regarding whether we should be charging for parking downtown on Saturdays.
I'll speak to that, I guess. I got to do some canvassing in downtown White River a couple weeks ago. I just decided to take an afternoon, or it was, I guess, kind of mid-morning, and walk and talk to as many business owners as I could to get their take on paid parking on Saturday. The reason that this topic came up last meeting was because the current enforcement is from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. And there was a suggestion that Saturday not be paid. But my understanding of the intention of the meters was to move traffic so that people could access the local businesses. And if Saturday is the highest retail day, wouldn't we be needing to move traffic so people can access the businesses? So I talked to many business owners downtown. I talked to some employees of downtown businesses, and I really got a pretty varied response. Like, I did not get a super passionate answer from many folks. I had 2 business owners that were passionately in favor of meters, and I had 2 business owners that were passionately not in favor of meters, and everybody else kind of didn't care. And so one thing that was pointed out to me, I felt that not enforcing parking on Saturdays would decrease revenue potential. And so I wanted to get a sense of like how much revenue we expect from the meters and on what days. And Lori did send out some results of parking studies. And just the more information I read about the information we have, the less I think the meters make any sense at all, because our highest occupancy in parking is in the evening after 5 p.m. So for the last 2, 2024 and 2025. So I'm just not seeing how these meters solve the problem that we're aiming to fix. And I guess I'm just kind of at a point where I don't have a strong position on if we enforce Saturdays or if we don't. And that I would take the lead of other board members who do have a good data-backed reason on why we would or wouldn't.
Eric, would you like to respond?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, narrowly on the question of Saturdays. The feedback that I got on that question, the arguments that were compelling to me were number one, there are fewer non-retail employees downtown on Saturdays. And so there's more capacity available. And the system isn't quite as stretched. And I heard that from a number of people that kind of, I trust, know what's going on downtown. The second argument that I heard, which is not quite as compelling, but it makes sense, is one that I sort of made, I think maybe last time when we spoke about this topic, which is we probably have to ease into this. And there might be some changes down the road. And so that argument would be, let's focus on Monday through Friday. And it also simplifies things for enforcement. And it changes the equation. One of the reasons I requested a complete financial analysis, and I'm triple underscoring the word complete here, is that I wanted to see if you pulled Saturdays out in terms of revenue or put Saturdays back in, what does that do to the overall picture of things? So I did get some good information from Lori on estimates for not the fines, but the fees themselves. And then the rest of the information is either missing or a little fuzzy. So for example, whenever we're installing a system, we ought to know the lifespan of the individual pieces. So how long will a kiosk last? Basically, it's a computer in an enclosure, and it's either going to be damaged by weather over time, or it's more likely just become obsolete because the vendor needs to sell new systems and new, I mean, they can sell software upgrades, but at some point they might want to sell hardware upgrades as well. And so there's an obsolescence factor as well. And so I still don't have a good sense of, if we have, it was like 16 of these out there is what the proposal is. If we're replacing, if they last every 8 years, then we know how often we need to be, we sort of have an understanding of a replacement cycle. The other part of the equation is what will it take for enforcement officers to do this work? And I didn't get that information as part of the financial analysis. So I have a lopsided analysis that looks a little Swiss cheesy. And it's very frustrating because this wasn't something that, it wasn't like a question that I sprung on the town, in the last couple of weeks. We've been talking about parking meters for a long time, and we ought to have a spreadsheet that you can just, that models the revenue and the expenses side of the equation. And I also was interested in this information because what do we do if we have extra revenue? Can we put that towards some things like upgrades to handicap spots or more handicap parking downtown and the capital expenses that go along with that? But I diverged from the Saturday question. The Saturday question really came down to the question of more availability because there are fewer non-retail employees downtown, and secondly, the let's ease into this. So I'm in favor of not metering on Saturdays unless I hear a compelling argument to the contrary.
Any other questions? Otherwise, I'm going to close the public hearing. Do I need a motion, Lori, to close the public hearing?
Yes.
Okay.
But I believe,
Is there someone?
question you had raised your hand?
I can't see behind. Is there someone? Oh, Tim, you have another comment?
Just a brief statement on the Saturday thing. My observation has been, number one, we are competing throughout the Upper Valley to get people downtown. I remember years ago when I came to downtown, I said, let's bring me a parking problem. And I think that's awesome. It means people want to come down there and be part of the downtown. So my observation in general has been that it is sort of a working community that Monday through Friday, it is busy. It is busy nights, obviously, with Northern Stage and dining and so on, which is good. I just don't see a huge problem. I think it's more like the distribution, right? That is to say, like, I know there are violators, including among my company I work for, that should really park in the municipal lot, and they don't. I know there's a lot of people in the Briggs building that work in that building that do the same thing. So to the extent that we could, force them or convince them to park elsewhere, a lot of the parking problem, I think, would actually go away within the downtown core. And then on Saturdays, a lot of people leave downtown, and obviously we have a significant number of people who work Monday through Friday that aren't there. So I think the Saturday thing, Eric's points are excellent, and I think you should, move forward in that direction. Thank you.
Any others online before we close?
No.
Okay. So is there a motion to close the public?
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Ashley, for the motion, and Ida for the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. So is there any other discussion on this before anyone makes a motion to adopt? Eric?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can we hear from whomever, board members, staff, about Tim Farrell's question about the same procedure for establishing parking rates and the fines? Like, just take a moment to explore that topic a little bit.
Sure. We've got a couple more minutes.
I think in the future you would see it in the fee schedule. It was that we hadn't had the discussion and the ordinance hadn't been passed to determine what the starting fine would be. And the same with the parking rate. The parking rate's in the fee schedule. The fines and that would be in the fee schedule as well, going forward from once the ordinance is adopted, that's the starting rate. And then if you choose to change those rates as time go on, those can be addressed within the fee schedule.
I want to see if I followed you on that. So to change them in the future, to change either of those, they'll both be defined in the ordinance. And to change either, it would be, no.
No, so the parking rate is in the fee schedule because that was set.
Do you know what we mean by fee schedule? It's that
in the
document we
master-
passed a few weeks ago.
Right, thank you.
Yes, so the fine schedule wasn't determined. There was debate amongst the select board between 14, 11, and that, so we couldn't put that into the fee schedule because that needed to be determined prior to that. So, but going forward, if you wanted to change those rates, it could be changed through the fee schedule.
Got it. And then if we did change them, wouldn't the ordinance be out of date if they're defining
The fee schedule part would be,
okay. And how does that get reconciled?
I would say with an amendment to the,
Yes, but typically, at the very least, the fee schedule comes before the board in June, before the new fiscal year begins. That's when the fee schedule is updated, whenever it is updated.
Right, but then there's a separate activity to bring the ordinance into conformance with the fee schedule changes if we change the fee schedule?
Well, I guess I'm not fully understanding your question. You can amend or revise the ordinance at any time. The only thing that is regulated in the past tradition of the town is an annual update to the fee schedule, which is done in June of every year before the new fiscal year.
My point of clarity there is that it's cumbersome, right? So why don't you take the fines and the fee schedules and put them together so that it's an easier process? Because changing ordinances is cumbersome.
Mhm.
Changing fee schedules is not. You can do it in 30 days, actually, according to what I read. So I'm just suggesting that put them both in that 30-day provision and solve the problem.
not opposed to
Yeah.
that.
If I may, because it would, if the ordinance says a certain fine amount and the fee schedule says something different, and a disgruntled ticketed person wants to fight their fines, it leaves us in a weak spot unless we're really always making sure we update the ordinance every year.
Why
and we
wouldn't the
update
ordinance simply be silent on the amount
Well,
of
I
the
think that's
fines?
what we're saying, because right now. it
Referring
calls
to
it
the
out.
fee schedule.
Yeah, so that's
Sure.
what we want, right? Am I understanding correctly, Eric?
The ordinance would be silent?
Well,
As to the amount of the fine.
Reference the fee
it
schedule.
would say.
Okay, so we're talking about an
It would read
amendment then.
Or we
hang
can
on.
remove it from now.
So in 2014, you'll see language that states parking rates shall be set by the select board on adoption of the rates the town shall publish, blah, blah, blah. So it's taking that same language or similar language and saying that the parking fines, which are in, of course, it's not immediately coming to mind. Give me a moment. Find where it is. It's stating that, oh, it's at the end, that the
29, yeah.
Short, yes, an amendment to this.
Thank you. Right.
It does,
Thank you.
it does seem to
parking
require that.
fines shall be adopted by the select board in the same language.
Right.
So then not enumerated with.
Yeah, I just wanted to be clear, when we get ready to make a motion, we have a potential amendment to this document.
I see.
For that, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Are you okay? Rest of you?
Yeah, I have one more comment before we make a motion. Just that I'm just struggling. Which is also, I think a reality of being a new board member and being a board member in general is like grappling with decisions that a previous board made that you may not agree with. And I'm just really opposed to the meters, and I can't find really any strong, like we can't guarantee the 15-minute free thing. And I think I'm gonna vote no, but not because I'm opposed to any specific language in this ordinance. I just am opposed to the whole change. So just want to let you guys know why I'm voting the way I'm voting.
Brandon?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will vote yes on this because it doesn't discuss the fee situation, which the board would discuss later. I would really hope that town staff continue to work with the software vendor, because in my mind, you know, I don't know a lot about computer programming, but I know that that if someone puts in their license plate on the app, that is like a unique identifier of the requester. And so it should be possible. Like what I'm saying is it's theoretically possible for our ask to be implemented. I think a company that runs a parking meter app and software suite has a financial incentive to not allow the first 10 minutes to be free, because they probably know that's the vast majority, I don't know, 95% of their customers, 10 minutes or 15 minutes free. So I guess I just will hope that town staff continue to work with this company and continue to suggest that they may not have the votes for these meters, or if there's no solution for at least a few minutes free. Thank you so much.
I just want to thank you for your work on this. I drafted legislation for 7 years, and I know it's not an easy thing to do, and I'm very impressed with the job that you've done. So, very well done. I'm going to vote yes for this. I voted against the idea of meters when it was a live question before the board decided to go forward with them. Once that decision was made, I feel like it's my responsibility to help implement that decision, and this gets us closer to that. So I will be voting yes.
Eric?
Thank you, Madam Chair. To the point of a 15-minute grace period or whatever, it's 10, 15 minutes, whatever. If we wanted to have an amendment stipulating that when that software feature is available, the town implement that grace period, which section would that go into?
Well, the other parking stuff.
220. Okay.
And for the first 15 minutes.
Okay,
So just
that's where we at. Okay.
our parking will to be free for.
So I
You
think
wanna
what
pull it
we're
up?
just coming, and I'll have Will go over that.
Sure.
Of where we would insert it on page 6, under section 229, called limited parking, and it would be in the last paragraph.
Yes.
Which version are we talking about? The redlined or the clean?
It would be the same.
Okay.
I'm actually, page numbers might be a little bit different, but if you go to section 229, and it says limited parking, the very last sentence there says parking shall be free all day on Saturday, Sunday, and all town holidays. And we could just add there.
Yeah, it would just be another sentence. Park the first 15 minutes of parking shall also be free, or something like that.
Well, you can't promise something you can't deliver.
Should the
Should the software become available?
If that
Yeah.
becomes, we would have to make an amendment to this.
Yeah, so I think it would be an amendment to the ordinance, not an amendment to this, because
Why?
presently we don't have that.
Right, but why can't we put language, conditional
Or
language in
other-
there?
Or as may be adopted by the select board.
Why don't we just put conditional, why couldn't we put conditional language in there that just says
Should be,
that
yeah.
grace period will be implemented at
If and when.
If the capacity or capability within the software to implement it exists, or something, maybe less clumsy than that, but essentially. the
That
same
sounds
meaning.
good.
Clumsier amendments.
I'm sorry, I can't.
I don't want to rush this, actually, I kind of do, but if the board is ready, I'm ready to make a motion.
We have one person, Mike Morris wants one more comment.
Okay.
Mike?
I thought we'd closed public hearing too. So I'm sorry, Mike.
No, hello,
I
you
was
hear me
directed
okay?
toward that.
Mike
Right.
Morris, Hartford. I'm
I'm sorry, my mistake. I was directed toward this, but we have closed public hearing.
I thought you're in discussion about this right now.
No, it's yes, the select board, we closed public discussion. Closed the discussion by the public in the public hearing.
Okay.
Okay, I have a question as to on page 94 of the packet. Is this what the motion would include? Where it says amendment to Town of Hartford? Or, because I don't.
We actually have a clean copy that was circulated earlier today,
Oh,
and I
okay.
can give you a copy of that. If anybody would like to make the motion.
Yeah, I don't think I have it.
The errors prepared.
Here's email to everybody how to get it prepared to make.
Oh, okay, great.
Make one brief comment before I leave. I promise I'll leave.
I really have to stick with, I stopped Mike Morris. I can't let you again. Sorry, Tim. All right. Have the motion.
Is there language? I'm sorry, is there language in the packet?
That's what I was just asking.
There's
Yeah,
a motion
and I-
in the packet. Which we sent out,
Recommendation?
which we sent out earlier today, the clean version. And I can bring that over to you.
Yes, please do. I thought I had it, but I don't have it readily. Sorry. Thank you.
Don't throw it away because that's our signature.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm not seeing.
So there is a recommendation on the memo at the very end of the memo.
Page 28, right?
I'm not sure where it is, but it
open-
would be on the second page of.
Pass and sign the attached updated ordinance.
Right, and then
Right.
it says recommendation, open and close public hearing, and then
Yep.
following.
Right.
Is that what you were looking for?
I think so. I'm going to try this and see if it needs to be fixed. So that I move that the select board pass and sign the attached ordinance with the following amendments. An amendment to section 220-9 to include language that stipulates that the town will implement a grace period of 15 minutes at the beginning of the beginning 15 minutes, when and if the capability in the vendor software exists to do so. And an amendment to section 220-29 to remove the fee, remove the monetary amounts and replace it with language that's in 220, similar to what's in 220-14, referencing the master schedule.
Master fee schedule.
Master fee schedule, thank you.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Ida, thank you for that. We'll do a roll call vote. I'll start with Ashley.
Nay.
Brandon,
Yes.
Mike,
Aye.
Ida,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
and I vote aye. So that's 5-0. 5-1, I'm sorry. So your ordinance passes.
Thank you for your perseverance.
Thank you guys
Thank
so
you for
much.
your
Patience.
And Megan.
I know when our last
It's
meeting
better
was
to get back.
rescheduled, I was thinking of you guys. I was like, we told them it wouldn't be a month. So thank you.
Yes.
It's good. We're good.
Okay, it's all right.
All right.
I didn't break anything.
So thank you, Officer Fenori and Chief.
Yes, thank you.
Lori Hirschfield, very happy. Okay, so we are
Thanks.
on to the waiver of purchasing policy for interchange areas sidewalk design. We are about 10 minutes behind schedule.
So we've allotted 10 minutes for this item and hoping that your portion can be wrapped up within 5 minutes if possible.
Going back to the early 2000s, V-Trans started requiring bicycle pedestrian scoping studies prior to municipalities applying for grants for design and construction of sidewalks. So back in 2003, the town applied for a grant to do a scoping study, a bike ped scoping study for all of Sykes Mountain Avenue and a half mile of Route 5. So that 1.5 mile corridor was studied, and I have a copy of it here. It's a pretty large document, but that was very important, laying the groundwork for the last 20 years. So back in 2014, the town received a grant for the design and construction of a sidewalk through the interchange area between Sykes Mountain Avenue and Ballard Vale Drive. The town hired Stantec. Stantec was also the author of the 2004 scoping study, and there was a 2013 scoping study which revisited the interchange area, because in the 2004 scoping study, V-Trans would not accept any sort of pedestrian accommodation through the interchange area. So a second scoping study was done. V-Trans bought into it at that time. Stantec was hired. They started design work, and then V-Trans halted the design work, saying that it was unsafe to put a crosswalk across the off-ramp, the exit 11 northbound off-ramp, because it was a straight shot and cars would come down that off-ramp at high speeds. So that put a delay on the project. And so V-Trans said there'd have to be, a realignment of the off-ramp. The town of Hartford, we're not in the business of, realigning interstate off-ramps. So we had to wait for the state to get involved. In 2020, the state decided to do a Route 5 corridor study. It included the area through the interchange. And in that corridor study, which Stantec was the consultant, they came up with a recommendation to realign the off-ramp. So that was 2020. Last year, with the Route 5 paving project, that realignment occurred, and then therefore it gave us the opportunity to start designing that segment. We did receive a grant for design and construction back in 2014. We hired Stantec. That contract expired because of the long delay waiting for the state to fix the problem. And so now we're back in the process where we have to go through procurement. And that's why we're wanting to utilize the at the ready process that V-Trans allows municipalities to do. So the at the ready process, it would allow us to hire a consulting firm to do the engineering design. The at the ready process is a pre-qualification process established in the 2000s, where firms apply every 3 years to V-Trans to be on the pre-qualified list of engineering consultants. They only allow 6. So in V-Trans experience, these are the best firms, the most qualified and competent, and they have an excellent record of completing projects without problems. So the at the ready process requires us to review at least 3 of the 6 engineering firms on that pre-qualified list. We did review 3 statements of qualifications, and Stantec came out in the highest ranking. They've done a lot of work. They've done 2 scoping studies. They've done a quarter study. They've done final design for the Route 5 sidewalk that we're going to construction shortly. They also did the design work for 2 segments of sidewalks on Sykes Mountain Ave. The town in 2014, the town received a grant of $369,000 for the project. Staff and V-Trans, we recognize that another grant would be required since the 2014 grant. Prices have increased substantially. Anticipating the need for additional grant funds and local match, the town has put additional funds in reserve in fiscal years 2024, 2025, and 2026. And based on expenditures to date, there are $346,124 in grant funds remaining, and $118,458 in town matching funds. The fee for services for this contract is $75,000, and the remaining grant and town matching funds are sufficient to cover the design engineering fee. We are asking the select board to use the state's pre-qualified list as an alternative to the town bidding process as allowed in the town's purchasing policy. The town, we have worked with Stantec for over 20 years. We have an excellent relationship with them. So that is why we're recommending hiring them. Our recommendations waive the requirement of section 3.6 of the town's purchasing policy and procedure for competitive sealed proposals for contracts over $20,001 as authorized by section 3.8 of the town purchasing policy and procedure to utilize the V-Trans at the ready process to hire a consultant, award the contract to Stantec in the amount of $75,000 to provide engineering design services for the I-91 Exit 11 Interchange Sidewalk project, and authorize the town manager execute the contract and other actions necessary to complete the project with the understanding that V-Trans authorizes the grant restart.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions from the select board? Okay. Any questions from the public under this agenda item? Okay, thank you, Mike. All right. Do you want these as 2 separate motions or all one?
All one would be.
Okay, great. All right, thank you, Mike.
Chair, I move that the select board waive the requirement of section 3.6, the town purchasing policy and procedure for competitive sealed proposals for contracts over $20,001. As authorized by section 3.8 of the town purchasing policy and procedure to utilize the V-Trans at the ready process to hire a consultant. Further, there will be award the contract to Stantec in the amount of $75,000 to provide engineering design services for the I-91 Exit 11 Interchange Sidewalk project, and authorize the town manager to execute the contract and other actions necessary to complete the project with the understanding that V-Trans authorizes the grant restart.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you, Ashley. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So it is unanimous 6-0. All right.
Thank you, Matt.
I think
Yes.
you're
Got
on
another one
again.
for us,
Yes.
though, huh?
Yeah, and then maybe we can take a quick bathroom break after this. All right, so consider request to seek bike ped grant funding for Quechee Main Street Sidewalk Project.
So back in 2009, when we did our first and only bike ped master plan, the Quechee Main Street sidewalk came out in our top tier of recommended roads to have a sidewalk. So that led to the 2015 bicycle pedestrian scoping study. This is it here. It was done by RSG. The town did receive a grant from V-Trans to undertake the study. And since then, there's been strong community support. We had a bunch of letters of support from a number of organizations. One of the most compelling letter came from the Quechee Library Director, Michaela Lavelle. And she noted that she's very concerned that there are many students from the Upper Valley Waldorf School and the Ottaquechee School who walk along Main Street without a sidewalk to the library for after-school programs. So as I mentioned, we had 5 segments of the of Sykes Mountain Avenue and Route 5 sidewalks. It's taken 20 years to get to this point. We're winding down sidewalks on that corridor, and so now is an appropriate time to give some attention to sidewalks for Quechee that were identified in that scoping study in 2015. David Saladino, he's an engineer for VHB. He was the managing engineer for the bike ped scoping study when he worked for RSG in 2015. He updated the cost estimate. And then V-Trans, they require, in putting together a cost estimate, that the budget uses a percentage of construction cost to determine the cost of engineering design, construction inspection, permitting, right-of-way, and a reasonable contingency. So when you add all these together, including a 25% contingency, the project gets, expensive. In discussing this with V-Trans staff, they recognize that, these projects take time and that it's important to have adequate funds to see the project completed, and without the town having to come back and ask for additional funds. So based on the total budget, including these required V-Trans items, the total project cost comes to $1.992 million. The local 20% match would be $398,490. $261,000 are already set aside for this project in town matching funds to meet the 20% match, and it would also require an additional $68,800 would be needed in the next 2 CIPs. A project of this magnitude would likely take 3 or 4 years before it was constructed. So we're requesting that the select board approve submittal of a grant application to the 2025 Vermont Bicycle and Pedestrian Program for $1,593,960 for the Quechee Main Street and Village Green Sidewalk Project, and $398,490 of town matching funds, with $68,800 to be identified in the town's fiscal year 2027 and fiscal year 2028 CIP. Select Board also accepts maintenance responsibility for the improvements after construction and authorizes the Select Board Chair or the town manager to sign all necessary grant documents on behalf of the Select Board.
And by select board, he means Brian Gazda. He gets to maintain the sidewalk.
Okay, are there any questions from the select board? Comments? Eric?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Was traffic calming part of the considerations here in lieu of?
Traffic calming, it didn't come out of the bike ped scoping study other than signage for bicyclists. There isn't enough room for a decent sized shoulder. The speed limit is low going through Quechee Main Street. In my experience as a cyclist, I think it's reasonable for an experienced cyclist to ride on Quechee Main Street safely. In the scoping study, they did recommend sharrows, meaning the bicyclists, they could put an insignia on the road, allowing the bicyclist to take the entire lane. The recommendation of the steering committee in the scoping study was not to do that. Another recommendation was signage, share the road signage.
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely see the value of this, having sidewalk and having dedicated space for something other than vehicles. But I also, I'm struggling with all of these different projects that we're undertaking and the potential maintenance of all of these sidewalks, and how, are we taking a sort of, at what point do we need to take a comprehensive look, sort of step back and take a comprehensive look at the impact on the maintenance of it? Since, we're hearing that we're not doing adequate winter maintenance in downtown White River, we're not doing adequate winter maintenance in parts of town. We know we're stretched thin in those areas. So I think that last part of the motion about the maintenance responsibility is pretty important for us to, as a board, to bear in mind as we go forward with this. I think it's important that we have sidewalks, but we're also going to be paying for them.
I do want to point out that it's a requirement of the grant application that the town accept responsibility for maintenance.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from the select board? Is there anybody online?
No hands.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion. Sorry.
I didn't ask if anybody in the audience wanted to.
Well, that's how I said the public, so,
Sorry.
well, started with online because nobody stepped up. We're used to be. Sorry about that, Colin.
It's okay. Two questions. One is perhaps, well, the question is, right now, there is no sidewalk in Quechee, and a bike rider can ease completely off the paved surface if necessary because of threatening traffic. When you build a sidewalk with a curb, you're insisting that the bike stay in the travel portion of the road. And is that actually going to create additional danger for cyclists going through Quechee if there's a curb that prevents them from easing off the side of the road?
I don't think going off the side of the road for a cyclist is a safe thing to do.
Well, it's safer than getting hit by a car.
As a cyclist myself, I don't see a problem with having curbing adjacent to the road.
Okay. The other question is, and this is in line with what Eric was getting at. You're not plowing sidewalks adequately where you have sidewalks now. Is there any equipment available to plow sidewalks in Quechee right now?
We have our DPW director who could probably answer it. I know we've talked about dedicated sidewalk machines, but Brian can answer it.
Yeah, I mean, we have a sidewalk.
Can you come to the mic, Brian?
Sure. Brian Gass, the DPW director. Yes, we do have equipment. It's not so much more the equipment, it's staffing. And what the responsibility of currently right now, the sidewalks have been done by the wastewater treatment staff individuals when they can get to it. So anytime we do put sidewalks in the outer area, I mean, our concentration is down here in the school grounds when it comes to, snow removal for sidewalks. It just makes it a staffing issue. Equipment you can always get, but it's finding the staff and the time to get and do it right. So.
Thank you, Brian.
And I'm not sure that's the answer to the question I asked. You may have a sidewalk plow in White River Junction. Are you going to put that plow on a trailer and haul it out to Quechee and plow the sidewalks in Quechee? Or are you going to acquire additional equipment that's going to be dedicated to Quechee? And what's the cost of that? So what's the cost of plowing a mile of sidewalks these days? And if you add several more miles of Quechee, what's the additional cost to taxpayers of the maintenance of that? Right now, a town plow, a truck, can plow to the edge of the road. And that won't happen with a curb and sidewalks. I'm not opposed to sidewalks. I just want you folks to think about the total cost of what you're signing up for. Thanks.
Thank you, Colin. For anybody else? Nobody online. Okay, I'll entertain a motion. You ready to make a
Madam
motion?
Chair,
Thank you, Mike.
I move that the select board approve submittal of a grant application to the 2025 Vermont Bicycle and Pedestrian Program for $1,593,960 for the Quechee Main Street Village Green Sidewalk Project and $398,490 of town matching funds, with $68,800 to be identified in the town FY 2027 and the FY 2028 CIP. The Select Board also accepts maintenance responsibility for the improvements after construction and authorizes the Select Board Chair or the Town Manager to sign all necessary grant documents on behalf of the Select Board.
Thank you, Mike. Is there a second?
Friendly amendment, I just want to make sure that the first number was stated as $1,593,960.
I believe it was.
So I'm still waiting a second.
I'll second that.
All right, Brandon, thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Point of,
Aye.
wait, will there be discussion?
Oh, I thought we were done discussing. I'm sorry.
I just thought of a question before. So this will be my first budget season and first experience with the capital improvement plan. I know that the taxpayers, the residents vote on the budget. How does the CIP tie into that? Because if we're making a commitment for 2027 and 2028, we're committing funds, but we don't know if those budgets will be approved, but maybe it's a separate, yeah. So I wanted clarification.
So capital, well, unless Lori wants it.
Yes.
A capital improvement plan is exactly what it says. It's a plan to put reserves aside or to generate their needed income in other ways, so that when that particular operational budget comes forward, you have the resources to do the project. So the voters deal with the annual operating budget, but we will also be asking the board to think further ahead and think about what sorts of commitments of resources you want to agree to and put in place, so that when a project is ready to be built, they are there in reserves that have been set aside year by year.
And the voters do not.
No, however, we're just about to engage a consultant to help update and upgrade our existing CIP. And that process will involve reaching out to the public in one or more meetings to lay out what the current capital plan is, and to hear comments on how it might be adjusted or improved. So there will be some public outreach in the next 12 to 18 months on that.
Okay, thank you. I was just curious about, yeah, if we could make that commitment this far in advance. I guess like it's a vote to approve the application. I don't know if I'm ready to, like if I would vote to approve the project today, but I guess I'm feeling like this is an application and it seems like a great project. I do think there's more information and consideration to gather about the long-term cost and the maintenance and the staffing. Those are all really good points.
Okay, Ida?
Yeah, similarly, I hear the public concerns around future cost and maintenance and our plowing capabilities. And I'm weighing that against, it's a significant amount of grant money that there's an opportunity to apply for. And I really do believe that sidewalks are a crucial infrastructure for residents of our town. So for those reasons, with some hesitation around, important points around maintenance and cost to the town in the future, I will support the, moving forward and vote yes for the approval of the application.
Any other questions before we vote?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I have concerns about undertaking this. I would really like to see villages, the town writ large, be more pedestrian and bike friendly. But I'm not sure that this is, we're going down a path where we're just building things that we need to take care of. And it sounds like we might actually be committing to having to maybe hire an additional staff person. And it all hasn't been sort of sorted out. So yes, it's just a grant application, but it doesn't feel like that we've looked at the full scope of the operational costs and that we've really explored, could, for example, the shoulder be widened and a path that's on the same surface as the pavement be used extra paving, and would that simplify things, simplify maintenance and so on. So I'm disinclined to vote for this, and it's not because I don't like sidewalks and people walking and getting around. It's just, I think the larger picture is very fuzzy at this point.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I just wanted to reiterate, so one of the reasons for this is because their school children walk to the library from the Waldorf Quechee school.
That's correct.
So they walk on the main road, but there is no sidewalk right now.
Correct.
So that would be, so one of the reasons would be for the safety of the children.
Yes.
And of course, I can suggest that when we get to the budget season, we can hear more from Mr. Gazda about his capabilities to maintain sidewalks that are in existence and what it might take to be able to handle the more sidewalks that are on the drawing board.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Okay, I'm going to do a roll call vote, and I will start with Ashley.
Aye. Yay.
Oh, I thought you said you weren't voting for it. Okay,
Did I?
I thought originally you said that.
No, I was saying, as far as the grant application, I'm inclined to
Oh.
support it, but would like to gather more information before this comes back to actually approve the building of the project. Am I understanding correctly? If we are granted the funds, it will still come before the board again
To accept.
to accept it and to move the project forward, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
I misunderstood.
Yes, so.
All right. I'm still going to go ahead and do a roll call vote just to be on the safe side. Brandon?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Ida?
Aye.
Eric?
No.
Okay, and I vote aye. So it is 5-1. All right, we're about 20 minutes behind schedule at the moment. We're gonna take a brief 5-minute break, so get a drink of water, go to the bathroom.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks very much.
Thank you.
We do have signature documents for those who are looking how to fill your 5-minute break.
And as normal, we get price quotes. Well, the last 2 years, we got it from 3 vendors. Typically, we get it from Pike and Twin States. But we've also been getting it from D&D Excavating for winter sand. So what our recommendation, we've gone through the process. Our recommendation is to authorize us to utilize Twin States Sand and Gravel as our primary vendor for all of the other aggregates except for winter sand, which we want to use D&D Excavating for the winter sand based on their proposal. I did provide someone, I know it's a little bit confusing spreadsheet to take a look at, but just to break down the pricing and where we are. We don't do this like a normal contract where you ask you for that because we're just utilizing it all the time. And it's just monthly invoices coming in. That's all part of what we put in our budget for aggregate costs during the course of the year.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Brian? Okay, you're just holding this or are you signaling me, Eric?
I'm queuing up for a motion if you
All right.
are ready for one.
Absolutely.
wanna
Is
ask
there
if there's
anybody,
public comment?
is there anybody online or in the room who wants to comment on the aggregates?
No hands online.
All right, thank you, Mike. All right.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I recommend that the board approve Twin States Sand and Gravel as the primary vendor for aggregates with the exception of winter sand based on their overall competitive bid pricing, with Pike Industries Incorporated being utilized in the event of product shortage at Pike Industries at Twin States Sand and Gravel, or when deemed operationally expedient, and D&D Excavating Incorporated as the primary vendor for winter sand based on their overall competitive bid pricing, with Twin States Sand and Gravel Company Incorporated being utilized in the event of a product shortage at D&D Excavating Inc. or when deemed operationally expedient.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, Ashley, thank you for that second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed, none. So that it passes 6-0. All right. So then review bids on sludge hauling and award contract.
Once again, this is an annual. This is, if you're not familiar, we actually have to haul the sludge from the Quechee wastewater treatment plant over to the White River plant for final processing. So typically there's 2 vendors, Stearns and Minash, who bid on this product. And thank you for pointing out we do have a typo in there. It should be 12 months. 8 and 3 is not 12 months. So we just got to update that from 9 to 3 for that. But once again, we put the RFP out and we came in at Stearns, and it's, you can see how competitive they are. They go back and forth each year, you know, so it's literally within a few $100s of the pricing for that. So this year, the recommendation is to have Stearns Septic from Grantham be the provider for hauling of sludge and grease removal.
All right, thank you, Brian. Any questions from the board? Eric?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the language of the motion, Brian, does that has an amount in there, 51,660. Does that need to change based on 12 months? Because it looked like they.
Yeah, that was a typo. That's based on the approximate 60,000 gallons per month. So that just the typo in the months was there. So it's a full 12 month.
He's asking about the amount in the motion.
The 51,660.
Yeah, is that a good number?
Yes, that's a good number. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions from the board? Any questions from the public? All right, thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Brandon?
I move that the select board accept the bid from Stern Septic Service LLC in Grantham, New Hampshire in the amount of $51,660 with any change orders to follow the town's purchasing policy, and authorize the town manager to execute a contract with Stern Septic Services.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
A second from Mike. Any other questions before we vote? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So motion passes 6-0. And then we have the review and approve roof repair on Wilder Pump Station.
Yep, my apologies to the town manager, to the select board for having it come in before you front this way. There was a misunderstanding I had with the chief wastewater operator and staff at the White River plant in regards to projects. And actually, we were looking at encumbrance and funding and what needed to be done. So they moved ahead with this. I actually didn't find out about it until our fire marshal asked us what's a building permit for it to be done. So that's how I found out that we had moved forward with it. So get a little history here. So the roof has been leaking. We identified it last spring. Looking for plans, how to best write up the scope, how to do it. Dry weather, it wasn't, if you look at the building, you get inside of it, the leak is over here, but it goes underneath the floor into the major control panel. So there could be at times where there was puddles. And if they needed to be at that control panel, there could have been electrical hazard with it. We were debating back and forth how best to do it. Do we need to engage an engineering firm or an architectural firm to come actually take a look at it? We did, as you can see, solicit price quotes from different contractors. Dayco's by far was the most, I mean, if we were to hire an engineer, that would have been probably the route we would have gone with Dayco with that. So with it, it was something that needed to be done. It wasn't like this was a wish, this was a need to have this roof repaired. But it's just a process of how we went about it. And I apologize for that we went that way with it. So the work's been done. We've got a good product, 20-year warranty. I've got the warranty paperwork in already from the contractor. So now actually it's just going through this and hopefully improve it so we can get this done.
All right, thank you, Brian. Any questions? Selectboard? Ended?
I guess I just wonder very roughly what the dimensions are of this pump house. Is it like a 10 by 10 or is it like 30 by 20 or?
It's 40 by 60. I mean, this was the original wastewater treatment plant for White River Junction back in the mid 60s when it was built. And now it's just a pump station. So.
Well, I was going to say $38,000 is a dang good price for a roof of that size.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Any questions from the public? Online or?
No hands on Zoom.
All right. Right, and I'll take a motion.
Madam Chair.
Ida.
I move that in accordance with section 3.7 of town purchasing policy, the select board waive the requirements of section, I'm on the right one, right? Yeah. The requirements of section 5 competitive sealed bidding and award the replacement of the Wilder pump station roof to Dayco Inc. in Sharon, Vermont, in the amount of $38,533, and authorize the expenditure or transfer of funds as determined by the finance director in the amount of $38,533 from Fund 60 Wastewater Capital Reserve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second from Brandon, thank you. Any other comments before we finish the vote? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So the motion passes 6-0. Thank you, Brian. And our next one is the Nut Lane. As we had amended the agenda to fit it in there.
So I'll go over it briefly. A lot of you are pretty new to this project. Read it, I hope it's pretty clear. So the Nut Lane Water Main project is just the first phase of a larger water main project that would replace the water main in Nut Lane, Latham Works, and Harrison Ave, which is cast iron, undersized, very old. Some of it actually follows the railroad tracks. We were hoping to originally fund it through ARPA, but we secured enough ARPA funds to go underneath the railroad. To give you a sense of how long this project's been going on, I inherited the project when I got here. It was already designed. was not permitted with the railroad. That took years and struggle. So hence we got some ARPA funding, which was the magic key to at least get a board underneath the railroad. Unfortunately, because it was a condensed project, the contingency wasn't very large. It was out of reserves. If we had a contingency for the entire project, what I'm asking you for tonight would be within that contingency amount. The map in the town has previously done for the sewer mains in that area is incorrect. We didn't discover it through any of the borings that were done, and the main through that area was actually too deep to actually accurately locate from the surface, to give you an idea. So the boring company, when they removed the boring for the water main, found some bricks that came back out. Out of abundance of caution, we started looking for possible things that could be, was it an old foundation? We were told that there was maybe an abandoned manhole underneath there somewhere, not underneath the railroad tracks. We got in a specialized camera. It's pretty pricey, but they brought it in, and it's a large flow. It's 20 plus feet deep down. Just to get the camera down there is a bit of an ordeal. And we did find that the side of the casing went through the manhole probably 10, 12 feet above the invert. Did a clean hole. Unfortunately, that manhole is directly below the railroad tracks. Nobody knew it was below the railroad tracks, and so obviously it's probably 100-plus-year-old manhole. So a brick manhole underneath the railroad tracks is a problem to start with. One would question who puts a railroad track over a manhole, but it's below the railroad bed. So that's long enough ago. I can't point fingers. I mean, I can't point fingers at why we didn't know it was there or active. So the logical solution, because we don't really want to spend funds to close down the railroad, that's interstate traffic and so forth, very expensive, is this is a very old vitrified clay sewer main. And the logical repair for this to us and the engineers, I'm not sure if it's online yet or not, is to actually do a cast in place liner through it, which will create a PVC liner through it. It'll actually extend the life and buy us time on that main, because that is the main for the southern part of the town that actually gets Sykes Mountain Avenue, South Main Street, a large portion of the district across the railroad tracks. There is no other alternative way. So time is of the essence. The railroad is on our butts to get this done. If that manhole was to suddenly collapse, it would be a major problem for us. It would also be a major problem for us in the future had it collapsed and we never knew it was coming. So this improvement has a declared life of like 50 years for the liner. So it extends the life of that sewer line going through by at least 50 years, right? So that becomes our new sewer. We've never serviced that manhole. We didn't even know it was there. We could never open it or use it if we needed to. After we put the liner through, we do a controlled pour of structural concrete to a level of 12 inches above that pipe. That becomes a structural bridge, and the pipe is now a structural pipe. That is all part of it. After that, a ultralight flowable fill is put into the manhole, and we can't access the manhole from above, so we're actually going to drill into the side of it to get the flow, the material in there. And we'll monitor it as we go. That comes up, solidifies. We now have a solid base underneath the railroad. The E80 rating is restored. The surface gets restored. We no longer have to worry about a 100-plus-year-old manhole underneath the railroad. Long-term goal for us as a department would be to find an alternative secondary route across the railroad for this line. It seems in order to do this, for instance, we can't bypass the sewer over the railroad, right? So if we have a problem in that area, the only way to bypass sewer is to collect it in trucks, pump it from each manhole before it gets there. There's 2 manholes upstream of it, and truck it across the railroad tracks. So for our operations in the future, should we need it, or for a potential problem if a line goes down underneath the railroad, we've informed the railroad, part of our long-term plan, we'll be looking for an alternative route, perhaps through some of the lots further up towards the center of the village, where we can get a secondary route rather close over to Lakeland Works. And then, of course, we will be looking for a bond vote in November, which will be providing more details as we do with the Wilder Water Main project. It's all at the same time to complete the project. This is a project that was a priority 20 years ago, really needs to get going.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. The questions from the select board, comments?
We do have Otter Creek Engineering, I believe, on board this call in case he needs to chime in.
If you have questions. And I will let you know that Robert from Otter Creek, he is like a lot of us, he inherited this. He's not the original engineer, and I believe he may be the third. So through COVID and all, attrition has changed the landscape dramatically.
I'm not hearing any questions from the board. Are there any questions from the public?
Not on Zoom.
All right, any questions in the room? All right, I will entertain a motion then.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Eric.
Thank you. I move that the select board authorize the town manager to execute change order number 6 with Isaac's Construction and Excavation in the amount of $28,640, utilizing remaining ARPA funds dedicated to the construction of the Nut Lane water main and wastewater capital reserves from Fund 60 to complete the abandonment of the manhole under the railroad tracks. Further, that the board authorize the town manager to execute a contract with in situ form Technologies LLC or Eastern Pipe Services for up to $82,775, waiving section 3.6 of the competitive sealed bidding of the purchasing policy, recognizing the urgency of the project and the unique capabilities and availability of the firms as allowed under section 3.7 of the purchasing policy.
Is there a second?
Second that.
All right, Brandon seconds the motion. Eric. Any other discussion before we vote? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Pass the 6.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you,
And as a
Chris.
note, we hope to get it much under the 82,000.
Yes, excellent.
We are working at it.
Nice.
Okay, so then we will move on to the consider proposal to update public safety IT infrastructure. Dylan, you've been sitting there a long time.
For those of you who were at my budget presentation last cycle, I had a slide talking about the infrastructure and public safety and how it was up for renewal and the importance of sticking to this timeline. And it's a collaboration between all the directors in that building, myself, finance, town manager, and over the course of the year plus, there's been a lot of increases. And so coming back to the board with the proposal on how to essentially pay for the difference once we got updated quotes. Part of that is just, again, the year plus long increase, from Dell. Another is, and I'll try and keep this at a very high level, but there's software with server infrastructure, which virtualizes every server that we have. And I want to emphasize that this is sort of the brains of the entire building. This is our 911 server that our police, fire, dispatch, Norwich PD, Windsor PD, South Royalton PD connect to us. It's every fire alarm. It's our file server. It's a VPN server for all of the emergency vehicles, every ambulance, every patrol vehicle, anyone who accesses it on their phone who are off duty. And so what we're looking to do is get away from the software that virtualizes this, because they were essentially bought out by a bigger company. And if you kind of speak to anyone in the industry, there's a lot of uncertainty. They've tried to squeeze out very small companies or towns like us and other businesses, and their focus is on, the Amazons of the world and really big companies that have hundreds of thousands of servers that can't really get away from their infrastructure. And so a vendor that we work with to implement all of this approached me about 6 months ago and let me know that this was happening. And so there's that large increase, and they've strongly advised us to move to what's called Hyper-V. It's owned by Microsoft, very stable. It'd be a perpetual license. It would kind of avoid any further increases in uncertainty. And there's another migration fee because of that, if we went that route, from Motorola, who is our 911 server, sort of unavoidable. So when you kind of bundle all these things together, plus the fact that we are accelerating growth faster than originally anticipated. So we've been advised that we should add a third server for more growth, more redundancy, and combining all those things incorporates for sort of the price increase. So I tried to lay out in the memo in your packet sort of the total cost, what is sort of already accounted for, and then the proposal to make up the difference. So you'll see that the total cost is $192,810. That is 3 servers, the storage, 5 years of licensing for the operating system for the 911 system, as well as our backup software, perpetual licensing for the Hyper-V virtualization software, and then that one-time migration fee from Motorola. And if you see in the FY26 budget, police, fire, dispatch have 81,000 allocated. I have just under 25,000 from my regular budget, and then I had contributed a certain around $20,723.80 for my reserves. And a lot of numbers, but if you look at the next page, there's a funding gap of a little over 66,000. And so going through sort of the projects that I had in place, I knew that there would be savings from the Arctic Wolf project that I had mentioned, which is going very well. And I approached the town manager and the finance director about this situation, and we had a conversation that I then brought to the dispatch director, PD chief, and fire chief. And as you can see, the additional proposal would be savings that I have, $27,400, an additional contribution from me that I've found in my budget of a little over 8,600, and then 30,000 split 3 ways between police, fire, and dispatch. I'm not speaking for them, but they all understand the importance of the project, and they all have expressed they are on board with this plan. And again, just some key benefits. For me, it's very important to have it all done at once, so they're all on the same refresh cycle. It's kind of between warranties and certain CPU cycles are different than others. It's very difficult if you have one server that's older than the other from like a balancing standpoint. And then the other important thing is we are expanding. There's a chance that we are in discussions with other agencies who are interested, because we are the only Motorola customer in Vermont, self-hosted. And so that would potentially create revenue opportunities if we have the infrastructure to support them. And from a public safety standpoint, it would foster a lot of collaboration and information sharing that I think would be very important.
Are you talking about dispatch customers?
Yeah, there's additional, some dispatchers, some fire departments, 1 or 2 police agencies that have expressed interests, because the folks, we usually have a demo or they'll come visit and they usually leave pretty impressed between the CAD system, the lights that go off in the building for the folks who have heard that go off, and sort of the full package that we have. So that is all I think I have. I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Dylan. We have questions from the board. Eric, did you have a question?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Very briefly, Dylan, I believe you've done due diligence here. This looks good. Two quick questions. One is about the Arctic Fox. That didn't include the email security. And so the amount you're contributing here is less what you're setting aside for email security.
Yes, we ended up having another vendor that was under 4,000. They had a grouping they do with local government, and they ended up being CJIS compliant, and the state of Vermont uses them, and they have since been implemented. So we're fully covered from Arctic Wolf email scenario, and so far very happy with the results.
Great. And with respect to the perpetual licensing, is it perpetual because it's inherent or built into the Microsoft operating systems that you're running? Like MS, I don't know if you're running MS Server or Data Center or whatever.
It would be Data Center, so it comes natively with Data Center, and VMware. What we have now is essentially forcing people onto subscription and having a minimum core count. So if your server has, say, 20 cores, this year they said anyone who has it must pay a minimum of 72, even though if you don't have that.
Right.
And we actually have perpetual VMware licensing now, and they have started telling folks in our situation that they will cut off support until you switch. And so they're basically forcing everyone to a subscription base, and then eventually a lot of uncertainty with, costs and things like that.
And how long has this been integrated into Data Center?
This proposal, if approved, is what would be swapped. And so,
No, I mean, in Microsoft, the Microsoft product, the Hyper-V, is this been around for a while?
Yeah, and speaking to folks in the industry, it seems like the most stable. There's other other agencies I know in Maine have gone a different route with a company called Proxmox, but it's a lot of moving pieces and unproven nature of the 911 system isn't validated to work on that. And so it makes me want to stick with something that's kind of tried and true, Microsoft's backing, and is going to be around for a while.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Dylan? Okay, any questions from the public?
No hands on Zoom.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Brandon.
I move that we approve the additional funds from FY26 between the 4 departments, IT, Police Department, Fire Department, and Dispatch, to cover the difference in IT infrastructure upgrades for the coming year.
Right, thank you. Is there a second? All right, Mike, thank you for the second. Any other questions before we vote? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So it passes 6-0. Thank you, Dylan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dylan.
Thanks.
Okay. Move on to review proposal to waive purchasing policy and award contract for installation of level 2 EV chargers.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Okay, I've been doing this consistently, but it's my first time, but we're reminding folks of the time allotted for each agenda item, Dana. So we have 10 minutes on here, and we're asking presenters to try to use half that time, so about 5 minutes, if that's possible.
I've got my timer going.
Perfect, thank you.
Let's make this quick.
We support self-regulation, yeah.
So, yeah, the level 2 charger install was originally part of the South Main Street overhaul. Originally, they were going to install charge point chargers over there. And then I got involved in the project kind of like maybe 2 weeks before they were going to purchase the chargers. We have charge point chargers there now. They've just been problematic. They've got really bad customer service. And they also have a subscription fee. You have to use their software, and we would have ended up spending about $5,000 a year annually if we had installed those chargers. So kind of last minute, I said, hey,
can we search out another person? At this time, the project was under knots. So everything was just going to go in as a change order. Everything had been bidded out. They were project managing it. And also during this time, an opportunity came up with the state for it's state funds, but through Green Mountain Power for the electric vehicle supply equipment grant. And I applied for that. It was a very short turnaround window. So a couple of weeks. And the way that it worked is I had to submit specific charges to the state, get those approved. And I had talked to a couple of different vendors. We did not issue an RFP because, again, at the time, this was under knots and it would have been a change order. The Norway Technologies took a look at it. They said they could install the level 2 chargers. They have a good track record with installing other chargers in the state. They have also since been awarded the level 3 chargers contract, which we were waiting for that to go through federal litigation. But what I'm asking for is now, because NOTS pretty much wrapped up before they installed the chargers, we did not pay them to manage that project. But now it's kind of bounced back to us just as a matter of protocol. And I'm just asking you guys to waive the requirement for multiple bids, as I've got a very short window to get these installed. And again, at the time we were following the procurement policy. It's just that the situation has kind of changed because there was a lot to really muddle through with that renovation project. Does that make sense?
Yep. All right, any questions for Dana? Eric?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The deadline to get this equipment installed is October 31st, is that correct?
Correct.
Lay out for us the timeline. If we said no, we're not going to waive the purchasing policy. Lay out the timeline for going out to bid, getting the bids, awarding it, and implementing.
I mean, I would have to work really quickly to get an RFP out by the end of the week, maybe, or next week. Probably that would be out there for 2 or 3 weeks. And then, you know, we'd probably award it sometime in August. Sign the contract, they'd have to order the parts that would put us into mid-September. And then they'd have to get the install team out there, and we would be butting up really close to the deadline, if not missing it.
So it's possible, it sounds like. And so what other installers other than Norwich Technologies are out there for level 2 chargers in this type of application? That I mean, I don't know that market, of course, but are we talking about, you know, any competent electrical contractor, or is this something more specialized?
It's more specialized for these. These are units. This isn't like getting the level 2s at your home, because these do have the interface with the internet and all that kinds of stuff. But the infrastructure is already there, which is a huge, you know, probably 80% of the cost was with that infrastructure, the conduit, the power tower, the bollards, the bases that's already been put in there. We're just looking for a company that has these chargers and specializes in installing them in the location.
Who maintains the list of vendors that might be possible? Is it Efficiency Vermont, or is it Green Mountain Power? Like, if we said, you know, who in Upper Valley or anywhere in this region, you know, give me a list of 4 contractors who do this work and have good track records. Where would I go for that list? Efficiency Vermont? Green Mountain Power?
I would probably contact V-Trans.
And have you?
No, not for this.
Okay.
All right, any other questions for people? Any questions on?
We have one online.
All right.
And we'll bring in that question first.
Oh, did see you. You have a question first before we go to the online person?
Maybe, yeah, thank you.
Okay.
I'm seeing, I definitely understand that they're going to be significantly more expensive than level 2 chargers at your home, right? Because those you can purchase for about $500 a piece, and, you know, run the electricity for, have your electrician run wire for $1,000 or $1,500 for each. You know, but I guess what is your evaluation as to why 6 chargers at these sort of municipal quality build quality cost $76,000?
And I want to clarify that actually, there's a typo. It's actually 80,000. I was looking at the wrong number when I did and I don't know.
If the infrastructure is already there, you say.
Yeah, yeah,
By
I mean-
that, I think I would assume you mean the electric lines.
Yeah, the conduit to run the electric lines through it. They still need to pull the wiring through it. This is kind of the market rate. This is at the same price point of what ChargePoint is going to charge us for their chargers. And it's 6 units, 2 ports each. And there's just a lot more to them than there is the one that go into your.
Oh, I see. So it's basically, it's 12 chargers more or less.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Okay.
Yeah, and then we're getting the 42,000 from the EVSE grant. We've already got 39, I believe, in the bank. We get the remainder once they're installed, and then we'll get an additional $9,000 from GMP. And then the original plan, which we're still moving forward with, was Lori's going to use TIF funds to cover the remainder of that cost. Whereas originally it was all going to come out of TIF.
One final comment I'll make is I agree with your assessment of ChargePoint. I have had almost as many negative interactions charging my car with ChargePoint than positive.
They sent me a bill last year for New Hartford, New York, and when I explained to them that that's not us, they asked me if I had a point of contact there for them. It's pretty bad.
Any other questions? And there is someone online, did you say that?
There is, Heidi.
All right. Go ahead, Heidi.
Heidi Dude, White River Junction, Vermont. I have a simple question. If I saw this correctly on the agenda, are they going in the middle of the parking lot, Dana?
The way that Lori and I had scoped them out the other week was we would put some of them along the periphery, and then yes, there are 4 sites in the middle of the parking lot that were part of the parking lot renovation.
So can you explain to me the way I see them on the diagram in the agenda? How is DPW supposed to plow this parking lot with them there?
I mean, the bollards were up this past winter and they already plowed that whole route while they were there. The DPW basically, they do it horizontally when they plow. So they run the long way down, and those chargers are not, there was not an issue with them. There's not an issue with the lights. They're in the middle between the parking spots.
So you're saying that the truck's not going to hit them?
I mean, that depends on the driver, but they didn't hit him this past year.
So were the chargers in place?
No, but the bollards are in place. So that's what they would hit. Pardon?
What else? How else would you describe them? The stands?
The stands, but also the posts. There's yellow posts that are up.
Oh, to protect
cars
from hitting them.
Exactly. So that's already in place.
Okay, so I guess I didn't see those. That's why I'm asking you, because the way I saw it on the agenda, I'm thinking to myself, this is going to make it more difficult for DPW to try to get in there and plow. And the way I first understood it, when you were coming with Norwich Solar, they were going on the backside towards the hill to be installed.
That is the level 3 chargers. That's the plan. These are the level 2s.
So you're putting more in there?
There would be, the plan is for 6 level 2s. And then there would be the level 3s, assuming that moves forward with the state.
So is there really honestly a need for more?
The timer has gone off, Heidi.
Could Dana please answer that question?
I believe the way we're heading, it appears to be, yeah, there will be a need for that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions? Someone? Colin? Go up to the podium, please.
Not about this project exactly.
You want to identify yourself for anybody who's still on?
Colin Butler. I'm not sure where I saw it. It must have been in the new parking ordinance. There was something about the length of parking allowed in the South Main Street lot. is somebody gonna pull into one of these charging points and just park overnight there, preventing anyone else from charging a vehicle? Or is the ordinance designed to make those spots turn over?
I would have to review the ordinance. I know we do allow for, we are allowing now for combustion engine vehicles to park in the EV parking if needed. Like if the parking lot was full, but I'm not sure about overnight parking. I don't think that that's would be a pervasive issue enough right now for us to even think about it, but.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much that lot is used and whether it's actually a problem or not, but it seems to me that if it's not part of your parking ordinance, it probably should have been, so that we wouldn't be spending, say, $80,000 on EV charging stations only to have people park there, especially if they're combustion engines. That doesn't make any sense at all.
220-15, any parking space designated by the town and identified by appropriate signage for the recharging of an electric vehicle shall be reserved exclusively for the use of electrical vehicles. Parking of non-electrical vehicles is prohibited in those designated spaces unless otherwise directed by the chief of police or the director of public works or designee, and postage with the signage. No person shall park or leave standing a vehicle in a marked space designated for recharging of electrical vehicles unless the vehicle is connected to the supplied power source for the electric charging purposes.
Answers your question.
It doesn't quite, because I could leave my car plugged into the thing and go to bed and come back the next day, get it. So it should be actively charging, otherwise they should move the vehicle.
Most, and Brandon, maybe you can correct me, but most charging companies charge you a fee. If you're, well, when the charge is done, they start charging a different fee, right? So it's quite a disincentive just to leave your car connected to the thing.
Yeah, and I do have that ability right now with the charge point chargers. If somebody is there beyond their charge limit, I can bill them. I'm not, because it has not been an issue, but if it became an issue, I could do that.
Thank you, Dana. Okay, any other questions? Ashley?
I guess that clarification, John, I do wish I would have picked up on that, because like Dana said, it seems like combustion vehicles have been able to park there. And I actually just was looking at a picture from the lots across the street here, and there's a big non-electric truck parked in a EV charging spot. Yeah, I guess I think that in a future world, it may be the case that there's a high demand for those spots in our downtown. But I'm just kind of thinking with parking, like if there's no parking spots in the South Main Street lot, and there's a total of how many is it going to be with the level 3 chargers in?
It'll be 12 with these, assuming we remove the charge point, and then 8, so it'd be 20 chargers. But that said, Matt Osborne does do the parking counts pretty regularly. And two things. One, he has told me that he has never seen a combustion engine vehicle parked into the charge point chargers. Also, we have 189 spots there. The most that he has ever counted during a Northern Stage event, and probably some other stuff, was 138 vehicles.
Okay.
And that is not the average. That is an outlier, but that is the most that he's ever seen parked there.
Okay. I am just thinking that the whole idea of the parking meters in the other locations is that will change. We're trying to force residents and employees who are currently taking up the other 250 some spots to go park over there. So it will be increasing. But I just do, and this isn't in relation to this item anymore. In this case, I'm wondering if we need to make an amendment at some point to the parking ordinance to not, yeah, I guess it's an enforcement question.
It's only been on the book for an hour or so.
Yeah, no, just an enforcement question I have now about, like, is Chief Kelly going to recommend that they really crack down on moving people out of those EV spots, and then we have 20 parking spots that sit vacant all the time and people can't park anywhere downtown. So just a thought.
Yeah, I mean, the high-speed chargers will definitely be charging an idling fee. And I mean, I know as a Tesla driver, there's been times with my kids where I'll get a message that says you're done charging and get charged $1.50 a minute till you move it. And I have drugged my kids across the parking lot while they're eating their pizzas to avoid that charge.
It's expensive.
Yeah, just to follow up and respond to Ashley, I mean, I think, the current, I hear the concern and I'm looking at the language that John read, and it's part of it is unless otherwise directed by the chief of police or the director of public works or designated with posted signage. So I do feel like that allows us to maybe make a recommendation informally to John to suggest to Chief Kelly that it's not enforced. I mean, it's monitored, but unless we're seeing every single charging spot being taken up all the time, that there's some leniency with, penalizing non-EVs for parking in those spots.
Yeah, and we did have this, I've had this discussion with Lori. I know she said it with Chief Kelly, so we definitely are trying to make, we're in this transition phase of just with transportation, and we recognize that there's going to be things to muddle through, and we're trying to make it as flexible and smooth as possible.
Awesome. Eric?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I support putting these charging stations, level 2 charging stations and the level 3 charging stations in that lot. But I'm not going to support the request because I think the town should go out to do competitive bidding whenever possible. And it sounds like we still have that window of opportunity. In fact, this was put on the agenda nearly 2 weeks ago because of the meeting delay. In that time, the RFP could be out the door. So it's not that I don't support the chargers. I don't support the process that's being requested. I think it makes sense to go out to competitive bidding for a number of reasons. And this isn't like, it's not like it's a little over the $20,001. It's 4 times that. So I think the town should go out for competitive bidding unless, unless you're going to say that it's absolutely impossible and we were to lose the opportunity.
I mean, I wouldn't say that it's absolutely impossible. It'll be challenging. And the other thing that I'm facing right now is the level 3 chargers. Once the state, we believe, or once the feds presumably release that funding, that's the other thing that I'm concerned about, because then these charging installers are going to be focused on those, and we might get bumped back. So that's the other unknown right now.
Something that seems like it's way out into the future, potentially.
I don't know. I mean, these lawsuits have been moving through, and a lot of the other funding has been, and the other suits have been released recently. So I'm thinking it might be within a number of months.
Just another note or piece of feedback on process data. I'm just noticing in your memo, typically there's like a financial impact section. And I feel like that is muddying it a little bit for me because there's, some grant money, some other, rebate expected, and then there's the contract amount. But just for future reference, or if you can quickly summarize now what the actual financial impact of awarding this contract would be if it's different than the total amount of the contract.
The total amount of the contract would be $80,000, and approximately $51,000 of that would be covered through grants and incentives from GMP.
Okay.
So it'd be around $29,000 from the town coffers.
Yeah, that's helpful. I mean, yeah, that's helpful to delineate specifically in that memo page if possible, because it's a big difference.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Take a motion of some sort or another.
I'll make a motion. So the number of the contract should be 80,000?
Correct.
On the dot.
80,000, sorry, 80,615 and 86 cents.
615, 86 cents. Okay, thank you. All right, Madam Chair, I move that the select board waive the requirement of section 3.6 of the town purchasing policy and procedure for competitive sealed proposals for contracts over $20,000 $1,001 is authorized by section 3.8 of the town purchasing policy procedure to utilize Norwich Technology as the installer of 6 level 2 chargers in the South Main Street parking lot. Further, that we award the contract to Norwich Technologies in the amount of $80,615.86 to provide the installation of 6 dual port chargers in the South Main Street parking lot.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Is there a second?
Second.
Ida, thank you. We have a motion and a second, Mike to Ida. I'll take a roll call vote on this. I'll start with Ashley. Or do you have any other questions before?
Well,
Final vote.
I see Eric's point, and I do agree that for future, it would be best, if possible, to stick to the purging policy when feasible. But I'll vote aye.
Okay, Brandon,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Ida,
Aye.
Eric,
No.
I'll vote aye. So that is 5-1.
Can I just ask for my notes, who was the seconder of that motion? Ida, thank you.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, consider local groups request that town serve as its fiscal agent.
Yes, are you Bonnie Arnold? Welcome. I think the board has in their packet an email thread in which this request was made for the town to serve as fiscal agent for a group that wants to erect historical marker at the Kilowatt Park, is that right? They've put together a fundraising appeal, and they're just asking the town to do as we have for several other groups, asking us to handle their money, to deposit it and provide it when requested. And again, we have done this for other groups. The finance director said she has no particular concerns, but that it should be a select board decision to do so.
Anybody have any questions? Ida?
Just thank you for bringing this to us. I'm a Wilder resident. The history is very rich and interesting. So I appreciate the effort of your group to commemorate that. And yeah, I enjoyed reading the information that was included in our packet on the history. I'm curious if we, as a board, maybe, I don't know if this is a John question, but will we be able to review the actual like visual layout of the signs?
It's been done.
Oh, they've already been designed?
Yeah, and accepted
Oh, by the board or by
the.
By the Preservation Commission, that's their purview? Okay, great, okay. Well, I look forward to seeing them.
You're just gonna be the fiscal agent, that's what we're sort of approached with right now.
I see, okay, so we don't have any purview in terms of the location of these signs or the design, it sounds like.
Sounds like
all.
historic preservation.
Yeah, it's right at the pocket park, they've already cut a little spot into the guardrail there to make it easier for people to walk in.
Okay, yeah,
It's
I see the map, yeah, oh, okay.
Could I ask you, do you have any idea when it will be installed?
Has to do with fundraising now.
Okay, and so do you think year, 2 years, less?
Less,
Oh, good, okay,
yeah, we'd like to move on it.
yes, I'm sure. Thank you very much.
And for anybody interested, they can find the fundraising appeal in the select board packet. The project will cost $5,000.
Thank you. Any questions online? Okay. Brandon?
I just have a very general question for literally anyone here. Do we have does anyone know how to access the text of such historic markers approved by the committee? I'm just, I would love to read the text.
Do you have the language from the signs available? Maybe I could glean that from the Historical Preservation Committee and circulate it if you'd like.
I would love that.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
And probably from us.
Oh, from you, okay.
Yeah.
We'll talk to Phil Sargent or Harry Kendrick, yeah. Thank you.
not to overload your plate, John, but I have a meeting with those folks tomorrow night, so I'd be happy to
Fantastic. Thank you.
forward that request.
Thank you.
I couldn't read the little tiny print.
Well, this is not what we were given, I think is not going to be on the.
Right.
Yeah.
There'll be
I
something
think
more
that's just some
abbreviated.
history. Right. Right.
All right.
But yes, good joke.
Okay. All right. Okay. Do I have a motion? Sir?
Madam Chair, thank you. First of all, thanks to you and the rest of the members for doing this work. This is sort of exactly the sort of volunteerism that we need people to be doing, stepping up and filling the gaps and just making life in our living space richer. So to that end, I move that the town, move to approve that the town serve as the fiscal agent for the Wilder Historic Marker Fund.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, Ashley seconds the motion. Any other questions, comments, before we vote?
Just thanks so much for sticking around and being the yeah.
It's good for me to.
Yeah.
Process.
I appreciate it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, passes 6-0.
I'll let
Thank you
Gail in
very
finance
much
know and he will
for
be
your
all set up.
Patience. Okay, so I think we are to the ratification of fiscal year-end payroll and AP approvals.
Yes, we're coming down the home stretch. The request, of course, is just the mirror image of the request a couple of weeks ago. Before the fiscal year ended, we asked that Mary and Mike be authorized to sign fiscal year end accounts payable and payroll as may be needed. And Mary did so with respect to AP. And now in a motion to have the board ratify her actions would be appropriate.
All right, any questions?
One question on the recommended motion. It says, I moved that the full select board. We just take that out. And say the
Sure.
select board.
That's fine. That's right. Yep.
Thank you. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I move that the select board ratify the actions of select board chair Mary Erdai on July 1, 2025 to provisionally approve the payment manifest dated July, is that the correct motion?
Mhm.
Yes, July 1, 2025, as previously authorized by the select board.
There, thanks, Mike. So it has been moved by Ashley and seconded by Mike. Any last questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So motion passes 6-0. And we are down to commission reports. I'll start with Ashley if she has any.
Trying to think. Been a weird last 4 weeks.
Mhm.
I don't think I do. No.
Brandon?
Yes, I'll quickly read what a summary that I wrote of my time at the Housing and Homelessness Committee this month. We heard presentation from a member of the committee for the revolving loan fund. The Housing and Homelessness Committee is now working on a proposal for an easy path for residents to follow for so-called missing middle or infill housing, which sometimes takes the form of an accessory dwelling unit, that sort of thing. The committee is in the preliminary stages of this work, but the goal is to make it as easy as possible for residents to build or reconfigure housing for more units. The committee might work with the revolving loan fund here in the near future to offer some kind of gap financing as a piece of the funding pie for residents who seek to add housing units.
Great, thank you. Mike?
No reports.
All right, Ida?
I don't have any.
Eric?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to read something I largely plagiarized from Hartford Conservation Commission Chair Katie Mann. The Hartford Conservation Commission is looking for candidates who exemplify sustainability and passion towards nature and its surrounding community for their Conservation Commission Conservator Award of the Year Award. They are looking for individuals who act to protect wildlife habitat and/or watersheds, increase conservation awareness around town, work to advance nature education goals, and further the commission's mission of protecting Hartford's natural resources. If this sounds like an individual you know, nominations are being accepted until July 31st, 2025. And you can forward that name, your nomination onto Matt Osborne in the town office, or Katie Mann, who is the chair of the Conservation Commission, or me, or anybody that you can think of.
Thanks, Eric.
They'll get to the right place.
And I have none. So we
By the
are-
way, if either of you would like to submit those for the minutes, Lana would be happy to get those from you.
And so we are onto the consent agenda.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mike.
I move that the select board approve payroll ending 7/5/2025, approve AP manifest at 7/3 and 7/10/2025, approve meeting minutes of 6/24 and 6/29/2025. The future meetings approved for 7/22/25, 8/5/25, and 8/19.
Can I make just a clarification with respect to the July 5th payroll that has been approved out of the usual order by the finance director and the town treasurer due to my unavailability at the time. So what you would be doing is ratifying an action that those two have already taken with respect to that payroll from July 5th. Yep.
Thank you. All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Ida has made a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And so the motion passes 6-0. There is no executive session, so I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Ashley has moved. Is there a second?
Second that.
Second by Eric. All those in favor say aye.